The big one being, at the start of the game, Abby kills Joel. And it was a hard moment to process.
I'm a little lost on why that would be there. I don't think at any point that game is ever, like, frustrating because of the game being difficult or challenging or presenting you with games be frustrating. We're really on like a game kick right now. That's pretty interesting. Let's see. Should games be frustrating? I think so. I think there's really no satisfaction in a game if it's just like a complete cakewalk the entire time. Whether that comes through like a narrative or through a challenge, I think there needs to be something. It's like watching a movie where there's no villain and there's no problem. It's not fun.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is weird, especially for a AAA game. Where many titles in that space aim to appeal to as wide of an audience as possible, Red Dead Redemption 2 really doesn't. In a lot of ways, it's uncompromising. I'd go as far to say that it isn't even concerned with being all that fun.
That's most of the game.
With members of the gang. 5-hour-long animations of skinning an animal. Large portions of RDR2 are intentionally tedious. That's not to say they're bad, but the main goal of those moments doesn't seem to be traditional fun. At its best, it's type 2 fun, which is when something isn't all that much fun in the moment, but is fun to look back on. And no section of Red Dead Redemption 2 exemplifies this better than its 5th chapter, Guarma.
How can you see dislikes? So I think the reason I'm able to see dislikes here, I can't see them on my phone, I can't see them on my other computer or anything, but the reason I think I can see them here is because I haven't turned this computer off or even closed Google Chrome in like a month. So I don't think it's had a chance to kick through the update for this because it's still like a fucking fossil here. Or maybe it still just hasn't rolled out for everyone, but I can't see it anywhere except on this computer.
Of becoming familiar with the various territories of Red Dead's America and trying to find a foothold for the gang somewhere in it, Chapter 5 takes Arthur and a few members of the gang to an entirely new part of the world. They have a job go wrong, hop on a ship to escape, get caught in a storm, and find themselves stranded. This whole part of the game is hard to play. I don't exactly want to call it bad, but yeah, it's kind of bad. There isn't all that much to explore or do on the island, so pretty much the only option is to mainline the story missions, all of which are not super interesting. Mechanically, most of them revolve around moving from shooting gallery to shooting gallery. The non-stop combat gets exhausting pretty quickly, and on top of that, the section doesn't even have all that interesting of a narrative. The game gets wrapped up in a local rebellion aimed at the owner of a sugar plantation, as they see it as the only way to be able to get off the island, and none of it ever really feels like it matters, because it's so separate from the world and story the player has spent the past 30 or so hours caring about. Dutch has fallen deeper and deeper into delusions of grandeur and can't seem to help himself when it comes to putting the gang into terrible
I would never say this is like frustrating though, it's just really fucking boring.
Edges, almost always having something to complain about. And Javier, while probably the most
I don't think boring
bunch,
equals frustrating, it just
to both
means
Dutch
boring.
And Bill, meaning he fully buys into the horrible plans that those two cook up. For folks who have played the original Red Dead Redemption, there is far more baggage here, as Dutch, Bill, and Javier are 3 of the primary antagonists. And during the time between the two
having
games,
to do boring stuff is frustrating
and unhinged,
fair.
making it hard to. Before even getting to the Guarma section, I had started to rush things a little. After putting in so many hours, the exploration and side activities had lost a bit of their luster. Also, I could sense the game wasn't too far off from ending. Absolved. By the time I hit
But I like it. Is it a sin?
I was ignoring most things
and you're
that
wrong.
Progress the story. And without those
if you don't like the things I like, you're wrong.
To help recenter me,
Idiot.
a sense of fatigue with the gameplay was starting to set in. When I actually got to Guarma, the pace sped up even more, and that sense of fatigue skyrocketed. Along with that, I wasn't even enjoying the story anymore because I didn't care about what was happening in Guarma or what stupid plan Dutch had to get us out of there. I was miserable. So when I finally got off the island, the last thing I wanted to do was
pretty intense.
Story missions, especially ones from a D or an M. I took a breath for the first time in what felt like a dozen hours, and I started to have fun again. Mostly the Type 2 kind still, but either Either way, I was enjoying taking things slow again. Honestly, more than I ever had before. Chapter 6 of Red Dead Redemption 2 is all about self-reflection. It has Arthur questioning what matters, and for the chapter to work, I think it's very important for players to take.
So is this all about Red Dead?
Soak in the world that is so easy to just ride through. To engage with the things that you've started to take for granted.
I don't care what anyone says. What you're seeing right here, the skinning of the animals and the extremely long, slow, tedious journeys from point A to point B make the game fucking boring. As I said, and as I will continue to say, its focus to be extremely realistic is a detriment to its overall enjoyment of the game. It's mostly about story, though. True. Story was very good.
This
characters
led to
were really
my
good.
Playstyle shifting in a way that mirrored the themes being presented in Chapter 6, making everything hit harder. Players' experience doesn't change based on whether or not it was intentional. Personally, I think intention largely matters because every developer goes in with the vision of the experience they want players to have. So if a design choice accidentally shifts that experience, even if some players view it as for the better, it is a failure of sorts. Granted, players finding unintentional enjoyment is just part of gaming, so it's not the biggest failure in the world. In Red Dead Redemption 2's case, I think Guarma's frustrating design was an intentional choice by Rockstar. Certain aspects of this are easier to support than others, like the fact that Arthur is stuck there with Dutch, Micah, Bill, and Javier can't be a coincidence. Between some of them being villains in the first game and all of them being assholes in this one,
I think we're getting a little too deep. I think they just made a
players with this.
No, I think they just made a boring section.
Far different if Arthur had been there with, say, Charles, Sadie, Lenny, and John. Having the characters with him all be antagonizing.
We're really getting in deep.
I also think taking away the ability to explore is meant to make players recognize how important it is to be able to wander. The section takes away player choice, which
they
goes
just
against
made a
everything
fucking
the
boring
open world
section
has represented. While in Guarma, you're supposed to feel trapped. It's harder to determine if things like the missions being boring was an intentional choice or just bad missions, but given the pace, they seem like they're supposed to stress you out. Either way, all of this added to a mood that it seems like Rockstar wanted to cultivate, that being an intentional feeling of frustration used to make players appreciate the slowness that is so easy to speed past. One of the most obvious examples of this is Dark Souls.
Okay, so let me... I do want to finish it because I'm curious what the conclusion is that he draws. There is a huge difference between the kind of frustration you experience in Dark Souls versus that dog shit section of Red Dead. In that section of Red Dead, Guarma, it is nothing but boredom. I don't think there's anyone that goes into Guarma that's like, oh my god, I'm so fucking upset because it's so goddamn hard. Oh my god, these gunfights are fucking hard. I'm really struggling. That's super different. Boredom is a totally different level of frustration than something like a challenge presents like Dark Souls. I don't think anyone would say Dark Souls is boring, therefore it's frustrating. It's more like, I was getting my ass fucking pounded, and it was making me mad. But in Red Dead, it's always, I was falling asleep, so I turned it off. It's super different, and I don't think it should be in the same argument. And maybe he makes a distinction, but going from this to this just doesn't really work for the overall should games be frustrating thing.
Has bred a community of die-hard fans through the shared experience of suffering. They trudged their way through trapped corridors and poisonous swamps. They clawed through each area, learning how to get past enemies without losing all of their heals. Like, I didn't know the true meaning of anger or joy until I fought and later beat Ornstein and Smo for the first time. A lot of games that seemingly use frustration as a tool to elicit certain player responses end up being extremely polarizing. For every person who buys into the frustrating aspects of a game and connects to the material because of it, there's also someone who finds no benefit in the frustration and walks away without any meaningful payoff. And that can be a really disappointing.
Death Stranding is just another one that I wouldn't put in here.
When it's a $60
it's
game
not
that you
frustrating.
Take the
due
last
to like
Guardian.
a challenge
When people
or
talk about it,
design,
there's
it's
very
boring.
little ground because it was a long-awaited follow-up to one of the greatest games of all time. And instead of scaling massive beasts in order to take them down in an epic fashion, you spend most of the game waiting for one to understand what you're trying to do.
Yeah, this game sucked. This game was trash, unfortunately.
And disobedient and often annoying. But there are these moments where your new giant pet comes through for you in a way you didn't think possible. And it just feels so good. Struggling with the messy controls and seemingly inconsistent AI is what makes The Last Guardian work. Trico is my pet, and it's impossible to forget that feeling. However, many others...
I forgot that feeling almost immediately.
It was a janky, dated, disappointing mess.
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
It's hard for me to say they're wrong, because I do get it. It's just that those frustrating aspects resonated with me in a way they didn't for others. The Last Guardian takes a lot of risks with its tone and mechanics, and those choices didn't pay off for a lot of people. This general philosophy applies to everything in life. Some people like stuff that others don't. Duh. But it is hard to ignore that these kinds of games evoke stronger feelings of love and hatred than ones that don't take the same risks. The most intense example of this I've ever seen came with The Last of Us Part 2. It's a title where huge chunks of people view it as one of the most meaningful games they've ever played, while many others see it as manipulative and poorly written. And certainly some takes have been made in bad faith, but obviously not all of them. The divide is massive. And when I hear people talk
why
about
would this
it,
be
it
in should games be
sounds like
frustrating?
Everyone played different games. At the center of a lot of love and hate this title gets is the character Abby. And look, it's pretty much impossible to discuss this topic without getting into spoilers, so while I'm not going to ruin everything, I will be going into some major events that happened throughout. The big one being, at the start of the game, Abby kills Joel. And it was a hard moment to process.
I'm a little lost on why that would be there. I don't think at any point that game is ever like frustrating because of the game being difficult or challenging or presenting you with a problem that you can't solve without getting better, or even in Red Dead's case, giving you something that's boring that makes you frustrated. It's more just people didn't like the story, so it frustrated them. And in that case, the title Should Games Be Frustrating? I mean, nothing you can do to help that. Not everyone's going to like the story. It just feels like a lot of shit got put in there under frustration that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I guess I didn't finish it either, but okay, here, I'll just go to the conclusion. Might as well at least see what happens.
For games to include intentionally frustrating design. And of course, there are a lot of ways to look at it. I think scale matters a fair bit. For instance, the vast majority of games that center around using frustration as a mechanic are indie titles. And this largely works, as they're aiming to appeal to a niche audience who would be into that sort of thing. So in that case, the easy answer is yes. Obviously. Things get a bit muddier when looking at bigger titles though. From a consumer standpoint, a studio putting out a game with an established fan base and then adding elements that will knowingly agitate a sizable portion of folks who buy it is a tough look. Red Dead Redemption 2 doesn't
is that the point
as much anger as The Last of Us Part 2, but both have.
But I don't think they did that to make people mad. They did it thinking it would help the story. They did it for their vision of the story.
Behind. And for those who have enjoyed previous work they've done, I imagine that feels bad, especially when they're spending money. From a developer standpoint, putting out a game that is the exact one you wanted to make seems incredible. Most games, especially AAA titles that cost a lot to make, have to compromise to the mass market, and to be able to break away from that is something I guess most creators dream about. The answer to the question is a somewhat unsatisfying, I don't know. It depends on what's important to you. To be clear, if you think something
I kind of figured that'd be where we were going. That's where most of the game essays go.
For other players, or was an intentional choice by the developers. However, I think there's a lot of value in trying to understand why people both love and hate a specific thing.
So, in the entire list, there's only one game here that I feel fits this argument of should games be frustrating, and it's Dark Souls. Because Dark Souls is made to frustrate you, the player. Every decision it makes with its enemies, its move types, what you have available to combat it, is there to be a tough game, which is thus going to frustrate people. Red Dead 2, I don't think they made that mission to piss people off. Last of Us 2, they didn't make those story decisions just to make people mad. They did those things because in Guarma here, they thought it was good for the story, and in Last of Us 2, they probably thought it was good for the story. The only game here that actually made decisions to be frustrating is Dark Souls, and it worked. So I don't know, I just feel like a lot of different stuff got thrown in here that doesn't really fit. And getting over it, but that wasn't like a big portion here. Trico from Last Guardian, that game just didn't work, so it was frustrating. It wasn't like they tried to make the game not work, so that doesn't fit either. Like, there's only one thing here that had a sizable chunk, which is Dark Souls, where it is genuinely made to frustrate people. That was a little confusing. But someone asked in the chat what the most frustrating game I ever played was, or like what the hardest one was, and I have an answer. It's gonna be one no one's expecting, and I can promise that. The Samurai Jack game. The Samurai Jack game on Steam was the hardest and most frustrating game I've ever played in my life. I played through initially on hard mode, and the controls don't really work, or at least they didn't at launch. So when you'd roll, you'd have like a full second of input lag before you could do another action. And you'd die in 2 hits to even normal mobs. It was the most brutally difficult game I've ever played. I played Wanna Be the Bashi, Wanna Be the Guy, Dark Souls, my favorite series, Souls games is my favorite genre, and no game is as hard as Samurai Jack was on launch on hard mode. Nothing else even came close. It was the most frustrating game I've ever played. Fucking hated it. It was rough. I don't know if they ever fixed it, but it was miserable. You're stuck on one level for over an hour? I was. It wasn't even a boss. It was a level where you're just supposed to go through trash mobs. It was like 3 waves of trash mobs. But like I said, you die in 2 hits, and anytime you try and do like a roll, you have a full second of input delay before you could react. So if I'd roll, I'd insta-die because I wouldn't be able to react to the attacks that would follow. It was fucking awful.
Hello, and welcome to Staying Awake.
I have a sleeping disorder.
Oh.
I can't tell the difference between my waking life and dreams.
Hello, and welcome to Staying Awake.
Imagine how much more effective people would be if you didn't need to sleep, man. Sleep sucks.
I think I'm losing it.
We'll catch you on.
There's a prime side and get some salt.
Stevie.
Stephen. I can't tell the difference between life and dreams.
Thank you.
Lost the contact lens.
There's a prime Joe, Brian, and Resub map. This doesn't seem that dark so far. I haven't seen full frontal nudity, I haven't seen gore, nothing.
Oh my god, you're alive. What's wrong with you, Mark?
Why did you call me Mark? It must be very difficult.
But who is that?
Voice.
Is that Ethan Hawke?
There's chaos in you.
That's his name, right? Ethan Hawke? That's hype. I like that guy.
Embrace the chaos.
So he... Wait, what does he fight? Demons? That was a really cute way of ending it. That's just like the old Disney Channel thing when like Hilary Duff would take a little stick and draw the Mickey Mouse ears. That was pretty cute. Nice little send-off. I mean, it looks fine, man. I mean, I'm not losing my mind over it. I don't know Moon Knight. That seemed like just a pretty generic trailer. Redneck cooking with T-Rail.
You too.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
T-Rail fans, how y'all doing? It is me, T-Rail. Where have I been? Oh man, my phone's been broke.
Oof.
Screen's been broke for a while. Ain't had.
Let's just get to the cooking, maybe. Looking
Let that
pretty
simmer
good.
for a little bit. What are we having with these mixed vegetables? Let's find out.
Ah, bag dog shit.
Pork chops.
Ah.
I cooked these pork chops the other day, and go ahead and stir this up a little bit.
Alright, so does he just dump the pork chop in there and that's about it? It's a pre-cooked pork chop and some basically heated vegetables?
We're gonna put this pork chop in the microwave and heat her up real fast. Heat this pork chop up real fast.
Hey, makes sense to me.
It'll only take about 30 seconds, a minute. Get that thing heated up. I'm here to guard the manger. Church. And when that's done,
Give some Twixie.
the veggies should be done. Stir this up some more.
Those veggies are coming out nice. Yum, yum, yum. That microwave is cleaner than I expected it to be. Honestly, his entire workplace, I can't even call it a kitchen because he's doing this on like a desk, it seems, that he just installed like a flame over, is significantly cleaner than every other YouTube chef's kitchen. Genuinely every single one of them. The only like mess is this playing card and penny. And I guess this empty bottle of Gatorade.
While I'm waiting on that to cook and tell y'all a little story.
He's a prime diner, strange.
I moved my ex-girlfriend in here.
There's some haze.
About a month or so ago. The damn girl was on pills. The damn bitch decided to steal from my mama.
Oh, what the fuck?
Stole some fucking jewelry from my mama. As you can see, she is not here.
What happened to her?
She ain't in my bed no more. I thought she was gonna be the one to wake up beside of me.
Is she still alive?
Last couple videos ago. You know, that's that girl I've been known for 3 or 4 years now. We just been on and off. Well, we was on again, but she wanted to get on them pills, and so now we off again. She's off doing her damn pills, getting fucked up. Me, I'm still living good. Over here cooking.
All right.
You know what I mean? She's over there asking motherfuckers for food and shit now.
He's the prime.
For food and water and cigarettes.
Imitator in the receipt. Dank and
Tay hair. Here. Well, pork chops is ready. Let's go over there and get the plate.
Let me see the finished product. All right.
Good. So, ready now cooking.
That was a pretty easy to follow recipe. Can you watch 10 2-sentence horror stories animated? Bro, I fucking hate 2-sentence horror. We had a whole podcast episode dedicated to it like 2 weeks ago. It is the most embarrassing shit I've ever read. I mean, yeah, I'll check it out. We'll see it animated, but my god, it's horrible. Fucking trash. Alright, let's ride.
I was having a pleasant dream when what sounded like hammering woke me. After that, I could barely hear the muffled sound of dirt covering the coffin over my own screen.
No!
Number 2. I woke up to hear knocking on glass. At first, I thought it was the window, until I heard it come from the mirror again.
What is she doing?
My wife woke me up last night to tell me there was an intruder in our house. She was murdered by an intruder 2 years ago. Number 5.
Whoa! Hey, thank you for that, Archimedes.
But I keep waking up. Number 6. The last thing I saw was my alarm clock flashing 12:07 before she pushed her long, rotting nails through my chest, her other hand muffling my scream. I sat bolt upright, relieved it was only a dream, but as I saw my alarm clock read 12:06, I heard my closet door creak open.
Jesus. Oh my god, it's too scary. It's too much. That's just too much. I won't be able to sleep tonight. And then 2-sentence horror, really. They know how to get it done. They fucking strike fear into you. This video's last story made me scared to shit when I was a kid. How? No, 2-sentence horror has been around for like 10 years now. That subreddit's old as shit. I'm guessing he means like the actual 2-sentence horror. Is this... God, it's like a